to use and to cut rock and to lift rock. And so anyway, when they examined this guy, it turns out that just out of curiosity, that we do a DNA match, and he matches my hero, Gordon Tallbear. So Gordon is a direct descendant from Atlantis. And Gordon works for a research center called the Denver Center. And his colleagues and he end up then going down to Antarctica, where a team has earlier discovered that there's a cavern system down there. And they go in and explore the caverns, and they discover the rest of the technology and then try and bring it forward. So it's kind of an unusual premise. It's kind of for a lot of people saying, "Wow, that's really putting your thinking cap on," and it's unconventional in many ways. But everybody who's read it says it reads like a movie. That they can see the characters, they can see the settings, and the book flows along with a nice pace. So I'm really pleased about it. It's been getting great reviews on Amazon, and I've got excerpts from a couple of other reviews on the webpage, songofatlantis.com, and it's generally been being well received. So I'm in a major push to try and market it now. So
now, is this a self-published book, or is it one that through a publisher?
It is, yeah, and that is a limitation. Because I become then the banker for the advertising portion of the whole thing. So, and that's the tricky part. You spend all this time writing something and creating it. And now you got to turn around and become a salesman. And but it's, I've had some good luck. I hired a wonderful publicist, and she's been helping me out, Susan Schwarzman, and she's an absolute shark. So, but it's trying to get as many radio interviews as I can, and try and get a little bit of a momentum going. The book sales have been picking up very well, and thanks to audiences like yours that are saying, "Oh, this sounds pretty interesting. I'm going to try it." We're trying to move it along, and someday it'll be blockbuster movie, and you're all going to be invited to the premiere. How's that?
Well, you never know. It just could be. I mean, I my hat's off to you for writing, the book, because self-published, I've known a couple people, what they had to go through to, self-publish, what they had to sacrifice, to, get it off, market it, the cost of, producing the books and all that. A lot of people, you got to be careful. There are some people like advertising, on the internet that, hey, for this amount of money, they'll within a couple of days publish your book and give them to you. Be careful of those type of companies. Oh yeah, I mean, I remember the old Three Stooges. One of them, I Fleece Them You. That you got to watch out when you write a book. And I'll be honest with you, I've had people on here say I wrote a book in a week, and then they wonder why the book hasn't been selling. Well, I can tell you, you can't write a good book in a week. It's impossible.
Takes a little more effort than that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But it's and that's the thing. There are so many people writing books today. It's really amazing, given that you kind of think that, well, are we no longer reading? But we're actually reading a lot more, and people are writing these books, but they're flooding the market. And I'm just as guilty of flooding the market as anybody. And so you go out there, and the first thing you do is you say, well, I need to contact as many agents as I can and see which one of them is going to pitch my book to a publisher. And because publishers will not let you directly contact them anymore, you have to go through an agent. Well, try and get an agent to answer the phone, or answer your email, or return, answer your letter. That is where it is so difficult. And so, you now are left with, okay, we're going to have to go out and market it ourselves. And hopefully, if sales catch up, and take off, well, then also the agents are going to come out of the woodwork at that point. Is that, I'll become their best friend, so.
Oh, that happens. Even with my show, I started in broadcasting in 1976, retired, and then got back into it a little over a year ago. And, it was a struggle for the first 6-7 months getting listeners. And all of a sudden, like overnight, and I was going up to radio stations at one point, just like trying to market your book. I was trying to market my show, and they come up, oh, yeah, we'll put you on our radio station. Let's see, we'll cut you a deal at $3,000 a month to air your show. Well, how many radio stations can you, afford to pay $3,000 a month to air your show?
Exactly, yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, that has changed where they're contacting me and saying, hey, we want to carry your show. And
because you now have you got listeners out there, and listeners are buyers of products, and all of a sudden, we need you, to get our sponsors involved here, and you're now becoming their very best friend.
Oh yeah, it's the same way with your book. I had a author on here about a month ago. That originally he went up to Barnes and Noble and tried to do a book signing type of thing, and they said, I'm sorry, you have a self-published book, we don't want you in here. Basically,
right.
Really nice.
You have to go to the independent bookstores.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden, the manager of where he's at noticed in the independent bookstores, his books were flying off the racks. And all of a sudden, they contacted him and said, hey, you want to do a book signing? So, I mean, when you get noticed, that's when, things start clicking. But
did you either see the movie or read the book, The Martian?
No, I did not.
About a year or two ago, it was out. Matt Damon starred in it about an astronaut stranded on Mars.
Yeah, I did.
The author of the book, Andy Weir, I saw an interview with him, and he was talking about how he had been self-published, and he was struggling for 3 years, going on 4 years, and then all of a sudden the book took off. So I had the book, and I looked, and at his website, and I sent him an email. And he very kindly, within a couple of days, answered me. And I asked him in the email, how did you do it? I explained that I'm a self-published author and going through the same thing. And he said what he did is he lowered the Kindle price. He took like 3 months, and he said, I lowered the Kindle price to $1 under the assumption that people will buy anything for $1. And that's how his book took off. So I tried it, and I've had mixed results with it. But I just had to bump the price back up. I was losing too much money, but it's one of those things that you say, you got to be standing in the right place at the right time and have lightning strike, and that's about what it boils down to. It's like being it's trying to be discovered as a movie star. It's a slow and painful process.
Oh, it is. I had back about a year ago, one of my first guests, I had an agent. His agent contact me numerous times, and I'm not going to say what the book was about, but, this is a great book, you need to have him on the show, and sent me pictures, and didn't send me the book, just sent me pictures of the cover of the book. So I get the person on my show, and I started asking questions about the book, and he goes, well, I don't want to talk about the book because then nobody will buy it. And I go, well, can you tell me a little bit what the book's about? And he goes, I really don't want to get into it. And it was about, I will say this much, it was about Walking Dead type of creatures, okay?
Okay, all right.
So I was sitting here panicked because I had him booked for 2 hours. So I sat there, and for 2 hours I was talking about every Walking Dead zombie movie I could ever remember of. And it was like the hardest interview I've ever done. And then at the end, I had to ask him, I said, well, how many copies have you sold? And he goes, I sold one in a year. I just figured out why he sold one in a year.
Oh, God. And he doesn't want to advertise it. Good. That's, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, you got to talk a little bit about, about the book as a teaser to get people interested.
Absolutely.
So now I'm going to pump you a little bit. Now, okay, right. Antarctica. So pyramids or anything like in the book about pyramids in Antarctica or any these weird things like that?
No, I didn't do anything about pyramids in Antarctica because when the and I have the my where the book opens up 12,500 years ago. I've got the master architect of Atlantis. He sells the elders of Atlantis on an idea to create a single power plant that can power all of their exploration needs worldwide. and he needs to set it, farther north than where they are, and so they decided to set it in Giza. So it becomes the Great Pyramid becomes the power plant, and the idea for that came right from Christopher Dunn's book, The Giza Power Plant. Christopher Dunn was he's a mechanical engineer, and he studied the pyramid from that viewpoint, and he hypothesizes that it was a power plant, and he shows how it could have been done. And I thought, well, this is really cool. Maybe I can get this out to a broader audience than just the kind of geeky people that are looking at alternative theories of the pyramid. And so that's why I decided to create a story around it. And it's an adventure story. It's a love story. It's got humor in it. It's got a bar fight. It's got mercenaries and everything but a pickup truck and a dog. I think it's got something for everybody. So
it starts out from that time frame all the way up to our time frame.
No, what I did is I did the first 20 pages are split between the 12,500 years ago and the 8,000 years ago stories. I did that so that once you get past that, you've got the setup for the whole story, and then on page 21, you're really starting into the contemporary story. Now, what I do is I do go back and revisit each of those time periods in very short chapters later on to kind of say, okay, here's what happened next back then. Here's what happened next back then. And so what happened to the explorer that was kidnapped, back 8,000 years ago, and how the stages of the pyramid and how it was built. And you're getting that as you're discovering all this stuff from the Atlantis technology about how they actually did it. And so it's the contemporary story is a lion's share of it. It's probably 90% or better of the book is the contemporary story, but I needed the older story to kind of set up the contemporary story.
Now, going back to Atlantis, did they have like flying cars and stuff like that in your book and stuff like that? That type of technology? Yeah,
I've got a fleet of them that were discovered in one cavern that are still operational, and I have them running on electromagnetic technology that they could fly unlimited heights and at unlimited speeds, and they could also lift staggering weights of external cargo, and they were large enough to carry 12 explorers. So those were the main tools that I said, well, we need to somehow get all this these granite beams from 500 miles away to the actual building site, and how are we going to do it? So I did it with these handheld lifting devices and these powerful magnetic levitation flying machines. So there's a lot of fun with that one. It's kind of, how do you describe something like that? Well, I ended up making it look like a kind of a large, not SUV, but what do you call it? The basic, the mom's soccer mom car, So, but it's, but I needed to do that. Say, well, how did they do this? Because like I said, it's more than ropes and slaves, that are hauling this stuff. And they had to have some way of technologically cutting everything and moving it. And so I used these handheld devices and other granite cutting tools and these aircraft to lift and move everything into place. Very interesting. Again, now, where is your book available at this point if they want to go out and get it? Now, do you have a website with any teaser on it with your book? I've got a very nice website called songofatlantis.com, oddly enough, and it's got a lot of good information about the backstory and how my inspirations and where did I get some of the ideas from. And it's also got a link that'll bring you to Amazon where you can buy the book. So the book is available in paperback on Amazon and also in Kindle. And of course, if you live in Rhode Island, I've got some selected independent bookstores that are carrying it as well. But it's mainly available through Amazon. How's Kindle doing for you? A lot of Kindle sales. That has been very good. More and more people are reading electronically. I just find that fascinating because I'm old school. I'm tactile. I want to have that book in my hands and turn the pages. But slip a bookmark in when I'm going to go make myself a scotch. So